Okay, expected value. This is probably the hardest one. That's why we left it for last. Tomorrow's review, the next day is the test. Okay, so this is not impossible though. If you can remember that it's going to be the probability times the amount, and then you're going to add them all up. Let's say we made a game where you had a die and there was 6 things you could roll on the die, but we're going to keep it easier. You'll either roll an even number or an odd number, right? Aren't those the only 2 choices? Okay. And let's say you roll an even number, and if you roll an even number, I got to give you $5. That was an odd number. Ha! I give you nothing. All right, so the probability, would you agree that the probability of rolling an even would be 50-50, as in 0.50 chance of rolling an even? And then if you roll an even, you get $5. $5. I should probably make the 5 bigger and the dollar sign smaller. There we go. $5 if you roll an even. How about if I'll even pay off $1 if I roll an odd. Now, let me give you a really simple, like, expected value situation. Here's what you have to decide. If this is a game at a casino and they charged $1 to play, would it be a good deal? You could not lose, right? Because they're going to give you $1 back if you roll the worst of the 2. I mean, so they'd be a no-brainer at $1. That's an awesome deal. Now, I know some of you are suspicious, like casino, they're going to take my money. Yeah, casino wouldn't have that game because they would lose money. Your expected value would be positive because you can't lose. All right, so but what if the price was $1.50, $1.50? Now, is it still a good deal? Would you play? How about if the price was $2.50? Probably getting a little too high. Okay? Somewhere in there is the exact fair price. And that's what you figure out in these. You figure out exactly what would be the fair price. And then you can judge whether or not their price is too high and therefore your expected value is negative, like you will lose money. Or if their price is low enough, maybe your expected value is positive. You will actually make money. Now, again, in most casinos, well, in all casinos, they have rigged it so that they have a small percentage advantage on you. But sometimes they are so desperate to get people in, they'll actually give you free money to walk in. I remember doing that. There was a casino that was giving away, you get a roll of quarters if you would just show up. Just come to our casino, and here's a roll of quarters. And then they asked that you use it in the games, but if you just wanted to stick it in your pocket and drive home, you could. So a lot of people would do that. Now, you guys aren't even old enough, so you have to be like 18, right? I think it's 18, isn't it? To go into these casinos and gamble. But so that was an example of like the only time that the casino would ever lose money. And in fact, they even stopped doing it because too many people would come in, get the roll of quarters, and even though they're there and the machines are right there, and they knew that people would a lot of times spend the money on the machines, there was too many people who were taking the money and walking out, so they quit doing it. But they have any game they have rigged to have a slight advantage. But people aren't stupid. Like you could tell right away when I said 250 that, oh, that's too much for this game. And people do the same thing in the casinos. If they know they aren't winning at a high enough rate, they're going to be like, well, I go in every time I go in, I lose. They're going to stop after a while, right? They have to make it just right where every now and then they win so that they want to come back. You know what I mean? So they rig it so it's about a 2% advantage. Most casinos are rigged at like 2, maybe 3%. That's what they'll win on average. So you don't lose every time. Otherwise, you wouldn't keep coming back. All right. So if I wanted to finish this problem, it's the P, probability, times A, the amount, and then I just add them all up. This one comes out to 250. And this one comes out to 0.5 times 50 cents. And actually, my gut was wrong too. This one's actually worth $3. That's what it's the fair cost of playing that game. That means if you paid $3 to play that game, I'm not saying you'd win every time. No, there'd be a lot of times you'd lose. You'd lose some money, lose some money, lose some money, and then, boom, I just won, and I won back enough to make up for it. And so again, $3 is the exact fair price. And at the casino, it would not be $3. It'd probably be $3.50 to play, and then Some people that don't understand probability would just play anyways. Or some people just say, you know what, I know the casino's rigged, but it's just fun. And they're willing to pay that as like a cost of having fun. It's because for them, the gambling part is fun. I know for some of you it will be, and some of you it won't be. That's something that you have to decide. That's right. Sports gambling, just as of yesterday, the Supreme Court said, they didn't actually say it's legal. What they said was that every state can decide for themselves. And if the state decides, hey, let's make this legal, why would the state want to make it legal? Because then they can tax it. Because that's what they're thinking, hey, a lot of money gets bet. If we just make it legal, then when they win money, they'll have to pay taxes. And we get money on that. So let's just legalize it and we'll get tax money from it. Now, there are some ethical questions there because, like, people that maybe shouldn't be gambling are going to be gambling and they're going to be paying a lot of money in taxes. Some people are like, well, that's better than, like, not getting the tax money because they're probably going to do it anyway. So there's arguments. Yes? It's a good question. There is gambling in Minnesota. It's already been for sure like allowed, but only in certain places. Like they have strict laws on it. Like you could not have a tear off like a scratch game here in the high school. You know what I mean? They're not going to allow that. Okay. They do allow it in bars. They'll allow it in at like there's Canterbury and there's another place. There's also Indian reservations that allow it. So, and they're a sovereign nation, so they can do what they want, and it's just the state isn't trying to fight them on that or anything. So, there's always been gambling in Minnesota. It's just not necessarily at your house. It was actually illegal up until recently, until the Supreme Court just said this, to gamble like in other states from Minnesota. Like you're sitting in your house and you're trying to make a bet in Las Vegas. Through the internet. I'm pretty sure that was illegal until that ruling just came through. I don't totally know all the ramifications of it yet, though, so don't trust me on this. All right. So I'm going to give you one more example of expected value and just see how good your gut is on this. Let's say I have a bag here, and in the bag I have these M&M candy bags. And then if one of these is marked with a big red dot on it, and I got to pay $50 if you grab the right one, okay? And if you don't get to the $50, then you still get the M&Ms and you get to eat them and eat them. Judging by the fact that there's like, I don't know, like 12 bags of M&Ms in there, would you pay $1 to play? Yeah, like I get candy and a chance at 50. Yeah, he wants to sign up right now. It was all a lie. There's no red dot, but actually there's red dots on all of them because of the red M&M. But anyway, yay! So if the price, and again, there's a $50 one in here. If the price was $10, I think it's still a good deal. Nah, it's all of a sudden that's getting pretty risky. So somewhere between 1 and 10 is the fair amount. Now again, I'm going to say that there are 12 bags. I'll be specific. There's 12 bags in here. One of them has the $50 prize. I'd like you to see if you've learned enough already to figure out P times A and then add them all up. There are 12 bags of M&Ms. One's got the magical mark. 12 bags of M&Ms. One's got the magical mark. If you hit it, you get $50. If you don't, all you get is M&Ms, which technically don't have any dollar value, so we say 0 if you get those bags. Try to figure out if you've learned enough you actually have. You could do this. It's probability times the amount, and then you add them all up. You got to know that there's really only two things that can happen if you reach in and you grab. You're either going to get it or you're going to not get it, right? You don't need to list all 12 bags separately. You're either going to win or you're not. And then the probability and the amount. And you add them all up. I want to pause for a second while you figure that out. Okay, Dice of Destiny. Row 6, first person. That's you. What's probability that I'm going to win and pick that right bag? You couldn't do this. There was how many bags in there? So, there you go. So, not that hard. And then, what's the amount you get when you do win? $50. Yes. If you do not win, okay, I got to figure out the P and the A for that. Different person, row 3, person 4. That's you. What's the probability you are not going to win? I'm guessing you're doing 11 divided by 12 on that calculator, and what did you get? 0.92. All right, and it's okay. As long as these two together add up to 100%, we're good. Then, that amount you get. Well, you could argue that the M&Ms are worth something, but I'm going to say it's 0 in dollars. Then, that's easy, because when you times by 0, it's 0. How about 112 times 50? Somebody must have typed that in. What is it? Add them together, 417. That's the expected value of that game. You actually should have been willing to pay $3, $4 even. But again, it's your life. You get to decide what your risk tolerance is. Even if a game is theoretically a good deal, doesn't mean you should play it, because maybe you just hate losing so much that it would drive you crazy. The same thing's going to happen with stocks. Some of you are going to say, I'm going to invest in stocks because I'm okay with the risk, and if it goes down and cuts in half, and I have 10,000 and all of a sudden I have 5,000, I can live with that, because I might put in 10,000 and make 100,000. It could happen. So that's kind of a risk too. Some of you are very risk averse and are going to be like, just put it in the bank so I know it'll be there when I want it. And other people are going to like, I want to take the risk. I want it to grow. So, and some of you are in between. So, this is, though, the fair price. What if now we said, oh, by the way, this is at a fundraiser, and so they're trying to raise money. Do you get that they would for sure, unless they're stupid, want to charge $5 or something more than $4.17 because they're trying to raise money? So then their price at the beginning of the question might have said, the price for playing the game is $5. Well, then you would subtract that from your win you would have had, and now you would have an expected value of negative 83 cents. Every time you play on average, your expected value now, because of the price of the game, is now 83 cents of a loss. Now, again, if it's for charity, you might be like, cool, I was going to give money to these guys anyway, so I'll just play that game a whole bunch of times. See what I mean? People do that at these little fundraiser nights all the time. Because they know it's to try to raise money for charity, so they know it's kind of a rip-off, but then they're like, hey, I get to play with a fake casino game. And my daughter worked one of those one night. It was a casino night in Orono. And she was paid to work the thing because somebody had to like walk around with the chips and whatever. And she said people were just having a lot of fun, and like the drinks that they were serving there might have been like $5, but they were probably only worth $1. But nobody cared because they knew they were raising money for charity. And then they had this big raffle at the end, or auction, where they auctioned off some pretty cool things. Like one of them was you get to go out for a day and get lessons on what's that the kind of boarding that you do out in the lake where there's this huge wake surfing. There you go. You get wake surfing for a day. This you can use their boat and take your friends out and wake surf for a day. That was pretty cool. Anyway, and people would bid on these things. That auction night thing raised like $200,000 for charity. Just one night. And just because people had fun and they knew they were doing it for a charity, so they spent big. All right. So the expected value here was a loss of 83 cents. Logically, unless you know you're doing it for charity, this is something where you should say, oh, I probably shouldn't do that. It's a bad deal for me. Because if it's a loss for you, it's a gain for the company. And again, you shouldn't be like, oh, companies should never make money on me. Anytime you buy something, it's marked up on purpose because they want to make money. That's if they don't make money, then they can't have employees, and like they can't actually make a living themselves. So don't think of, oh, it's like I'm negative, so I should never do it. When you do those warranties, like for AppleCare, for example, we're going to do one of those, and that's going to be the type of thing we put on the test. I don't even know. I haven't even seen the test. But typically, those kind of word problems, like a warranty from AppleCare, that's an expected value question. And it's like, what's the likelihood that I will actually use this warranty versus not, and it's a probability and an amount, and let's go to that question. Everybody find this one right here. There's two things that could happen. If you're buying this camera, either the camera's going to work, and then you're going to say, dang, I shouldn't have bought the warranty. Or the camera's going to break, and you're going to be like, oh, so glad I bought the warranty on this camera. So you always need to know what your things are that could happen. It's either going to work, or it's going to break. Then you have a probability of each, an amount you get if each happens, and then it's P times the A, and then you just add them all up at the end, and you see what it's worth. Now, I encourage you to wait on the price thing, because if we figure out what it's worth is $7, and the price is $75, you subtract it off and go, ooh, I'm way negative. You wait for the $75 till the very end. So I'll help you to do this one, and then I'll make another one that involves an iPad. Because you all have one in front of you, and you all had the option to buy, didn't you? I think they offered an option to buy a protection plan, $40, and that's way cheaper than it would normally be. But then again, it's only 1 year, and I don't know. Some of you probably, go ahead. Don't touch the door with that, okay? All right. Okay. What is the P, the probability that this thing will work? Well, actually, they told us the probability that it'll break. Can't I use that to figure it out? Sure. If that's 2% probability that it'll break, then logically, what's the probability it's going to work? 98. I got 2 of my spots on my chart filled out. Now I just got to get the amounts. If it works, some kids are confused by this, but I don't think you should be. If you have a working camera, do they give you anything? No, they give you nothing. Your amount you get is nothing, because you can't go back and say, hey, my camera works, give me money. But you can go back and say, my camera is broken, please give me money. And how much would they give you? 300. And notice, we have not factored in this cost yet. And if you look on the keys, just so you know, sometimes it really bothers people when the key is done differently than the way I said it. The way the teacher likes to do it there is they like to subtract that $75 from both of these situations. But I have figured out a way to do it that's way quicker. It'll work if you subtract the 75 there and there, and my answer will come out the exact same as the key. But my way, you only have to subtract it once. And it's better because, don't you like multiplying by 0? Yeah, I mean, that part's 0. Boom, done. If you put in negative 75, you could have another calculation. You have to go through with your calculator, another chance to mess up your rounding. So I just multiply that times that, I get 0. This times this, and I get, I think it was $6. Anybody already done it? Yeah. Awesome. And if I add them together, 0 plus 6 is 6. But now, that would be a classic time to make a mistake. The kid says the expected value is 6. Yes, it's $6 positive, but the problem is you haven't factored in the cost of the warranty. This is the moment where we subtract $75 and you realize it was only worth $6. I paid $75 for it. Those warranties are a ripoff. And to be honest, 9 times out of 10, they are a ripoff. And one of the ways you can tell is because they want to sell them so bad. Think about it. If you're at Best Buy, I don't know if you've been there in a while, but I went in there the other day and I bought something that was worth like $8, and they were like, "Do you want to buy a warranty for that?" They like offer you a warranty on everything they sell, and it's why? Because they make money, and some people feel like it's worth it, and then I don't. Hey, if they nobody, I'm not making them buy it. It's up to people. Maybe it's worth it to them. I bought this cord, which is never going to break. Okay, but I'll pay $4 and I don't have to worry about it if I want to return it. Maybe it's worth it to them. Okay, so I'm going to subtract these two and I got negative $69, and that tells you your expected value is you are going to lose money. But remember, this is an average. Some people would make money. If your camera broke, you'd say, dang, I should have bought the warranty, because you would have made money. But on average, Remember, this is an average. Here's another snappy way to say it. You shouldn't ever expect to get the expected value, because it's never going to happen to an individual. It's only going to happen if you do it like 1,000 times and you average them all out. On average, people would have lost $69 by buying the warranty. And if you lost $69, then that means the store made $69, which is a really good profit for them. If they're trying to make money, that's a great way to do it. Okay, I'm going to give you another one that's very similar to that. It's the choice your family had to make on the iPad you have in front of you. Okay? You had to decide, do you want to pay the $40 and have the protection plan? And remember, you're going to set up your whole chart here. It works, or it breaks, and you have the P and the A, and then you add them all up. And I'm just going to tell you the info. Okay? You figure out the answer for this. You're paying $40. Does your $40 replace your iPad if it gets stolen? I don't think so. Pretty sure it does not cover being stolen. All right? Pretty sure it covers in case you drop it and it cracks. And you don't have to worry about. And does it have a deductible? Has anybody actually used it? Yeah. Did it have a deductible? Did you have to like pay $50 or something when you brought it in to be fixed?
I just broke it right in and gave it to them.
And then they give you a new one. All right. All right. Okay. Took a long time is what I'm hearing. But we're going to say that if you pay for the warranty, which costs $40, we figure that in at the end. What we got to figure out is the probability that your iPad is going to break. So let's do it this way. Out of 30 of you, how many of you have had your iPad break during this year where you're like, dang, I wish I would have had that warranty? Not whether or not you had the warranty. Did yours break? This year. Okay, how about this?
Wait, it was pre-broken?
Since this is only a 1-year plan, right? Isn't the $40 that you pay, it only covers 1 year, doesn't it? Okay, then let's just do this year. So how many of you in this room out of 30 people, how many of you had yours, you dropped it or somebody stepped on it and it broke? 1? All right, that's good. That's a realistic number. So 1 out of 30 had it break. So we're going to use that as our probability that there's a 1 in 30 chance. It'd probably be better if I asked all my classes, but I can't do that right now. So, you know what I mean? Our sample size is kind of small. We only have 30. If we knew how many kids had broken it from the whole school, that'd be better. But we'll go with 1 out of 30 chance it's going to break. You just put that right here. And then logically, you can figure out what that one has to be, because that's the probability that it won't break. Then, what's the amount you get if your iPad works? You get nothing, because they're not going to laugh at you if you walk in there and say, I want money because my iPad's working. But if you bring them a broken iPad, did you get value out of that? Yes, because they're going to do a repair. That becomes the question. How much is the repair cost? And what I'm asking is, like, if you bring this shattered iPad to, I don't know, fixit.com or whatever, ifixipad.com. I know, but I mean, like, outside the school, what would the cost be? $70? All right, there we go. Man with experience says it costs $70 to fix your iPad screen. So then that's what it's worth, is $70. Now we got to figure out, what is this warranty really worth? Probability of this was 29 out of 30. And the nice part is you're timesing by 0, so it's 0. Then it really just boils down to 1/30 times 70. And it's some small dollar amount. What is it? $2.33? All right. Now, am I saying that was a huge ripoff? Kind of depends on your perspective. $2.33 is what that was worth. Now, what of these numbers could be wrong and would change everything? What one number off of this? There's 2 numbers that we guessed at. I think Scott's number's probably close with the $70 repair cost. But Could you break your iPad bad enough to like just it's toast? So could the repair cost actually be higher than 70? I think so. So that's one thing we're factoring in. Like, what if you like seriously had your little brother throw it off the roof or something, and it's just completely shattered? I bet it's a $500 repair then, or 400 or something. Yeah. So this number might be a little low. How about this break number? Do you think 30 is enough people to really know what the percentages are? Probably not. You guys might actually be, on average, more safe students than the rest of the school because you're in an honors class. Just saying, you guys might be more careful with yourself. I'm not saying it always goes together, but it might. Okay, so we could be off a little bit, but the expected value of this thing is 233. Now I'm subtracting the 40 that they actually charge, giving you a net of negative $37.67. Negative $37.67. That's your expected value. Now, do you get that some people know that their kid is a klutz and is going to break the iPad? For them, they should buy it because their probability of breakage is higher because they're just a klutz. And if you've got a kid who is extremely careful and like puts everything back in its case and is like that kind of kid, then you probably are even less likely to use it, so it's even more of a bad deal. So, all right, so there is an example of expected value. It's always P times the A, then you add them all up. I'd like you to go back to this orange one. This is the kind where it gets a little more complicated, but it's still always boils down to P times A, and then you're going to add them all up. But you know what gets complicated? The things that could happen. There's more things that could happen here. It's not it works or it breaks. Here it's, okay, you got 13 hearts in the deck. You draw one card at random from the deck. If the card is a heart, you win $5. So could you get a heart? That's one of the things that could happen. Then what's another thing that could happen? Okay, spades. What's another thing that could happen? Clubs. What's another thing that happen? And so, therefore, there's more things that could happen. Now, could you have lumped this into hearts and other cards? You could have put these all together and said, another card that's not a heart. What's your probability of a heart? It's out of 13, hint. No, it's out of 52, sorry. 13 out of 52. And then how much do you get if you get a heart? Then, what are all these? If you lump them all together, what's the probability out of 52? Isn't it? I think it's 39. Okay. And then how much do you get if you get one of those? You lose one. Negative 1. P times A, then add them all up. That's all there is to it. The only hard part is figuring out what could happen, and sometimes the probabilities of those are trickier to figure out. But from here, it would just be this times this gives you a number, this times this gives you a number, and you add them up. Okay. Now, for today's homework, I did look at the worksheet, and it is one of those where just doing the evens would be just fine. And I want to reward some of you for doing last night's homework. So, this is the part where we are going to grade last night's homework. So I'm going to stop the video right here, and some people will be like, oh no. Other people will be like, finally, we haven't graded in a long time. I get credit for doing this stuff. All right, so take out your homework.